Hello my friends, welcome back to Dr. Ray's English Clinic. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about the scariest part of the IELTS exam. Most people tell me it's the scariest part. That is speaking, part 2, where you are required to speak completely alone for up to 2 minutes. A lot of people fail to do well in this part simply because they don't know what to expect. Okay, now at Dr. Ray's English Clinic we can coach you in English language for business, immigration, travel and IELTS. You can see here is my website. You can take a look at that, and I'll show you where to find my Facebook account a little later too. If you're thinking of studying with Dr. Ray's English Clinic, we've got excellent references. You study at your own pace in the comfort of your own home. We have proven fast-track study methods. There are courses at levels to suit your ability. They're not all IELTS. And study at times that suit you. Today's the first day of the rest of your life. Time to do something about it. Okay, now I have a special course on intensive IELTS strategies. That is on strategies, not on language learning. I assume that by the time you get to IELTS, you already have good English. If you don't, we have other courses that can prepare you for that. Now, we're going to talk about part 2 of the IELTS test, which is the part where you speak completely by yourself about details on a card which is given to you by the examiner. What do you have to do? In part 2 of the test, you'll be asked to give a short talk for between 1 to 2 minutes. It's better to go for the 2 minutes on a topic which the examiner chooses. You cannot change the topic. The examiner will remain silent while you are speaking, but when the time is up, he will stop you. We have to get practiced at using the time allocated. So you cannot just go in and expect to speak fluently for 2 minutes. You can't do that. You have to practice. You have to practice. So you need to get yourself a clock, some paper, pencil, right? Not for now, but for when you practice. And how can you make the best use of your preparation time? Before you have to talk, the examiner will give you 1 minute to prepare your talk. If you're clever, you will use that 1 minute to prepare your talk. During this time, it's important that you note down some helpful points and some vocabulary you think might be relevant or will help, and how you're going to structure your talk. That sounds a lot. It's pretty simple when you see how it's done in reality. Remember, we are looking to make our speech or our talk relevant to what the examiner is expecting. This means we do not need to have as big a vocabulary as you think. Because remember, the examiner is only speaking to you for a very short time. He or she never knows that you don't know any more vocabulary than that. Okay, so how will we do it? First of all, we will be given a card, and we will be told that we have 1 minute to prepare, and then we will be able to talk for 2 minutes. The examiner will tell you when the preparation time is up, and he will say you can begin talking now. So during that 1 minute preparation time, if you do not plan, if you do not write down what you are going to talk about, you will not do well. The first thing to think about is have a look at what's on the card, what's needed, and make yourself what we call a mind map. It doesn't have to be as extensive as this one. It just needs to be a mind map so that you do not forget when you start talking what you need to talk about. Second part, the examiner says your time is up for preparation. You can start now. Then he will start the clock. You will have to talk for 1 minute, for up to between 1 minute and 2 minutes. Heading towards 2 minutes is better than 1 minute. Okay, so let's say this is the card. There's an example. Here we see the card. Describe a place you have lived in that you particularly liked. By the way, it's interesting to note that probably 50% of the questions asked in this part of the examination are to do with about a person, 30% about a place. So if you develop a good vocabulary about people and places, you have got most of it covered. Alright, describe a place where you have lived that you particularly like. You should say when you lived there, who you lived with, what was the most memorable thing about this place, and explain why you liked it so much. So we have to think, how many things do you have to talk about? Remember, the examiner is listening to see that you talk about everything that's on this card. You have to talk about a place. Number one. You have to talk about when you lived there. You have to talk about who you lived with, what was memorable, and why you liked it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things you must talk about. As you start your talk, you need to introduce it. You need to say something like, I want to tell you about, I will talk about, let me tell you about. Something like that, that introduces the topic. Now, this is a given. You just remember to do this. Now, on your mind map, remember you have to talk about 5 things. So write them down on your mind map. The place. Place. Who. When. What was memorable. And why you liked it. And why you liked it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To round off your talk, you have to be able to come to a conclusion also. Now, if you just talk about those 5 things without expanding on them, you won't do very well. So, in your 1 minute, while you're preparing, think about some other things you might talk about. The place, you might want to say what country it was in. Its location, whereabouts was it in the country. When, or during your childhood. You don't have to say exact times, for example. You might just say during my childhood when I was young. I went to school there. Right? Okay, for example. Who did you live there with? You lived there with your parents. Say a little bit more about your parents. They're retired now. Or my dad's an engineer, whatever. And I lived there with my brother, who is now an engineer, or who is studying to be an engineer. Okay, these are all extra little things to add to your talk to make it more interesting. Why was it memorable? Oh, you might remember something special about it from your childhood. It was a tall building. It had a long staircase. I was afraid I'd fall down the staircase. It had a swing outside in a tree. My father made that swing. These are all little things to add to it to make your talk interesting. Why did you like it? It has some very happy memories for me. I played with my friends there. Now, as the time comes up towards 2 minutes and you have to practice this, you have to get a clock, you have to talk about these things, and you have to make sure that you can fit it all in 2 minutes. Now you have to know how to round up your talk. Round up your talk is just like doing an essay, isn't it? You're going to now come to a conclusion so that the examiner knows you're finished. That's my little story about a place I really liked living in, for example. So you see, we have the same structure as we do for writing the five paragraph argumentative essay, really. Tell them what you're going to talk about. That's this part. Tell them. That's all this part. And then tell him what you already told him. That's the conclusion. Have a look at all these things. If you can't talk for up to 2 minutes on all those things, there's something wrong with you. You should be able to talk about these things quite well, and it's better to have more notes than what you actually need. Okay, so let's go through this and see if I have made this plan, if I can talk about all these things correctly. Okay, so the examiner now tells me, now it's time, I've written all this down, now it's time to talk. Thank you. I want to tell you about a place that I particularly liked when I was young. Yes, I've done that. The place was in Australia, in a little country town in southeast Queensland. It was called Laidley, and I lived there when I was at primary school. In my early years, I went to school there with a lot of friends and even some relatives. I lived there with my parents. My mother and my father are now retired. My father used to be an electrician, and I lived there with my brother, who is now an engineer, and he works for the Australian government. Why was it memorable? Well, I remember this house was up on stilts, like a lot of Queensland houses are. It had a long staircase out the front, and I was always afraid that I would fall down the staircase. Outside in the garden, there was a swing, which my father made from some rope and an old tyre, and he attached it to a tree. That's why it was memorable. I really like this place because when I think about it, it brings back very happy memories for me, and I played there a lot with my friends. We whiled away the summer afternoons after school. That's my little story about a place that I really liked to live in when I was young. I hope you enjoyed my story. Thank you for listening. Finished. So, did I cover everything? Let me have a look. Did I already wrote down what I need to talk about? Did I open? Yes. Did I talk about the place? Yes, I did. Did I talk about when? Yes, I did. Did I talk about who? Yes, I did. Did I talk about why it was memorable? Yes, I did. Did I say why I liked it? Yes, I did. And did I come to a conclusion? Yes, I did. Therefore, the examiner has no reason to mark me down because I failed to cover all the aspects of the question. Now he will start to look for faults in my pronunciation, my grammar, etc. But technically, he has nothing to mark me down on. I've done a good job. You can do it too. If you would like more information about things like this, you can go to my Facebook account. There's the details, Dr. Ray's English on Facebook. And you will see on the header there, you can download a free book. I give this to you absolutely free on IELTS vocabulary. All you have to do is click that place on my Facebook account. That's on the header. And it will open a link. If you click the link, it will take you to a page that looks like this. You just download this file. Don't worry, it's completely safe. This file has been used by a lot of my students, and they have got excellent results from studying IELTS with me. If you feel that your English is not quite up to scratch, we have plenty of other courses which will bring it up to scratch, including a discussion course, which will definitely make you very ready for taking IELTS. So thank you for having a look at Dr. Ray's English Clinic, How to Do Part 2 Speaking in IELTS. I hope to see you shortly. Please have a look at my Facebook account or my website. You've nothing to lose except your bad English. Today's the first day of the rest of your life. Make it count and do something positive for yourself. Thank you.